Care what my mama say. Brian Paul said it's cool to play horror games. 'Tis the season. Plus, I don't think it has much of an effect on me, so this is PSVR without Parole's viewer takeover.
This is Viewer Takeover. We film every Monday night. We bring it to YouTube every Tuesday, most Tuesdays. I don't want to lie, but sometimes I have to lie. My name's Brian Paul from the channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And the guys to my right, the boys, Dave from Dave Station VR.
I don't like to lie, but they made me lie.
And that guy on the right-hand side of the screen is AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
Oh, Brian, Eddie Vedder at the Music Awards, yeah.
Yeah. And every week on Viewer Takeover, the whole thing, a whole lot of people. And the first person we want to thank for getting this out of the way real fast, Warren Simpson.
For that unsettling intro. I'm going to have a nightmare about that.
Amazing. I didn't know that one of the game cats was also Cyclops.
He's pretty intimidating.
We're gonna get him to the game cat school the school for gifted game cats.
Absolutely.
Professor Brian Paul's school for gifted children.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like a court order is in order. Guys, apologies to Warren Simpson. He sent that like mid-October. I absolutely should have gotten that in sometime around Halloween. But since Halloween in October were so disappointing, I have deemed the rest of this year October Part 2. So I think this is a great way to kick that off in style. Warren Simpson's not the only person we want to thank, though. By the way, if you do want to submit another short, sweet, sexy, without parole@gmail.com. We also want to thank these people. These people down here. These people went to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Games.
And they're the ones giving us $1 or more every single month because they love us almost as much as we love them. It would be impossible for them to love us as much as we love them. So thank you very much.
I feel like you almost didn't earn that games from me because you yada yada'd the whole intro. Our
half
reliable, fantastic.
Yada yada the beat up, baby.
AJ, who else do we want to thank this week?
We would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name on YouTube or wherever and leaving us a hashtag GameCat. All you have to do is change it to something GameCat related, something GameCat adjacent, as you and something GameCat adjacent would like to say. And this week, we have 2 new GameCats to welcome to the GameCat Dojo. Starting with hashtag GameCat puns freak me out.
I love that. I read it and I was like, freak me out. It's one of those that you read out loud and you're still rewarded the second you do it.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where it like almost negates itself. It is a GameCat pun.
She's a freak.
But he's saying they freak me out. There's a cool little story to be told there in that name.
Of course, it's Thank you, Hotcakes.
Of course. We've also got Dave, the something GameCat adjacent tortilla.
Too many Daves in this
Probably
building.
Tortilla?
Let's go with tortilla, unless he corrects us. I like going with tortilla. Tortillas are fantastic. Also, it's about time, David. Thank you so much for making the change. We really
not
appreciate
like he
got it all
invented tortillas.
He got something GameCat adjacent.
He's not like the guy who made tortillas, though, is he really?
I mean,
you don't have to compliment him for how delicious they are.
Every time we compliment him, we might have to pay somebody $1. I'd have no idea, man. I think the word tortilla is copyrighted. Dave, but what do we really do here on this show?
Well, I'd love to tell you that we answer 3 questions every week, but apparently this week it's 5 questions.
And last
We've
week
been
it was
overloaded with questions.
Bonus round.
And this is a big old smorgasbord of questions that we've got. But these come to us from either Discord or YouTube. The way you can get yourself on the show, if you'd like, is leave a comment with a question with a hashtag viewer takeover on any video on Brian's channel or in our Discord channel that is dedicated to viewer takeover. And if you don't have a Discord, it's in the link below. It's really easy to sign up. Great place that we all hang out. But we've got a lot of questions to answer here. So I'm going to get into the first one, which comes to us from JMeow on the Discord. Hashtag viewer takeover. Do you think that Sony is working on their own Half-Life Alyx? What I mean by that is, do you think that Sony is going to do a spin-off of a popular IP in VR? Which IP would you like to see them tackle? 2 questions.
Brian, I'm
kick
gonna
it
let
to
you
first,
start.
Brian.
I'm gonna let you start with this one because I think we're gonna have the same answer.
You know,
So
I'm gonna let you start.
I'm gonna let Brian start, and then
I'm
Dave's
gonna let
gonna let
Brian
Dave's gonna
start.
let Brian start, and then I'm gonna think of a new one because Brian's gonna say what I'm.
In
thinking.
a second, I'm going to meet both of you, and I'm going to let myself start. So,
Let yourself start.
There we go. I mean, there's so many good answers, but I don't want to take all the good answers, and because I want you guys to have something to say when I'm done talking. It's obviously Uncharted, right?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Climbing.
I get to
swinging,
keep mine after all.
Shooting. You can
Yeah.
do all the Uncharted stuff.
I've got two more on
Good.
this list. I didn't say both of them. I have a feeling both of you guys are going to say the other two. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically, we played Immortal Legacy, and Immortal Legacy was a nice glimpse into what Uncharted could be in VR. You know, there's a lot of interactions, there's a lot of gunplay, there's a lot of climbing. And the one time you get to do something like really cool and interactive, you take that knife and you get to slice the rope on the bridge, and the whole bridge goes boom. And I could just see a whole game like that's something you see in a AAA game, and the reason you see it in Immortal Legacy is because you can only afford to do it once. But in a Sony game, in a Naughty Dog game, there could be a whole game filled with these cool, memorable VR moments, like really VR as fuck, as we like to say. Nathan Drake is not a superhero. You know, sometimes he swings from vines, he climbs a lot, but these aren't things that we're like totally unfamiliar with in VR. We're pretty comfortable with these things in VR. You know, most of the time he's just running around or walking around or maybe riding in the back of a Jeep and shooting people. And again, these are things that we're very comfortable doing in VR. And so I feel like this is really the perfect game. And being able to pick up things like the Vita games and be like, let me actually take my hand and wipe off that dirt and investigate these items LA Noire style and really like, you know, pick up these artifacts and investigate where I need to go next, that kind of thing. I think if they really committed themselves, they could have an amazing full-fledged adventure in VR that was like super, super immersive.
Definitely not what I was expecting you to say. There is this god-awful rumor, which I don't know if I believe it, but maybe that Kojima is working with Sony and Konami to bring back Silent Hills. Of all franchises, I would like to see, when you talk about rivaling Half-Life Alyx, Silent Hill, absolutely Silent Hills, or PT, whatever you want to call it. You know, hopefully we get some good news at the Game Awards, and hopefully this is something we eventually see in our headsets. Would be amazing.
Yeah. So the thing for me is that like Half-Life is such an interesting and unique IP that like Sony doesn't even have anything that competes with. To be 100% honest, like the way that Half-Life sits in people's brains, even Uncharted or, you know, all these great series are gonna not really hit that mark. But I would say I think Horizon Zero Dawn will be great. Obviously, the mechanics of the bow and arrow, that's like designed for VR. And they're already working. I think Guerrilla Studios is already working on, potentially, there have been some rumors about them working on a Sony spin-off in VR of Horizon Zero Dawn. And I think giant dinosaurs, these beautiful landscapes, like it's kind of a no-brainer. And by that time, they'll already have a second Horizon game out. So they're kind of building the franchise a little more. But I think that that's maybe going to happen, probably going to happen, and that should be pretty cool.
I'm actually really surprised that neither one of you guys brought up Spider-Man, because obviously we've got Insomniac, who is already proven to make amazing VR games. That's now a first-party studio, and the kind of free experience was it. I always get these mixed up. Is it Far From Home? Which one was the cool one?
Oh, that's
Far From Home was the good one.
Homecoming was the crap.
Homecoming was the bad one.
Well, I mean, Far From Home proved that, you know, you don't even have to have amazing graphics. You know, you just need this open city to swing around, and like that mechanic is already fantastic.
I mean, having Insomniac in the back pocket is huge because, first of all, they've worked on VR games already. They've made VR games that have interesting locomotion systems like Stormlands, which I've played a bit of. And like, you know, their thing is always like the fun of moving through the world is like a huge part of the game. So I think that when they come to Sony with their next big VR title, it's going to be something that is very locomotion based. I don't know if it'll be Spider-Man because I can't see the combat in Spider-Man that they created being replicated in first person in VR. Like, you know, in the game, it'd be like Sirento on crack because you're sliding under a guy, doing a flip, jumping over here, flying over there. Like, it'd be a little too much. But if they could simplify it somehow, I think. Well, they
I'm-
have to simplify it, but it's a good idea. I mean,
I'm
Insomniac
gonna-
can do something great, and they will. I'm sure.
I'm gonna have to actually say that I think Brian has the ultimate answer here in Spider-Man with
Spider-Man.
Sony, Insomniac sitting on them, and having them at their disposal. Spider-Man is a 20 million copy selling game. The new game is off to a great start. It's pretty much one of Sony's best IPs right now, and to do a spin-off in VR of anything, this makes perfect sense with the studio that has, like Dave was saying, a history of VR experience.
All right. Well, I guess that takes us to question number 2. AJ, you want to grab this one?
AJ,
Of course.
I'll let you read this one, AJ.
You
Brian.
have the allowance.
This comes from Orseek, the Samurai Pizza Cat. I love that name. In the Discord,
name
says hashtag viewer takeover. What would you add to Dreams beyond what is already planned, like multiplayer support?
You guys have a good answer for this? I got to be honest.
It's a really hard one, so I think I might let AJ go because I can't think of anything off the top of my head that isn't already in the game. Like, it's such a cool tool set. I'm sure that, somebody who's created in it knows more what needs to be added.
I'm like, every second I'm thinking of a new thing.
Okay,
so number one, I'll answer on your behalf if you don't think of anything. Number one, I would like to see chips, already like pre-made chips for AI. AI is one of the toughest things to do in this game, and kind of building the reactions, the behavior of the creations is one of the hardest things. I would like to see preset AI for stealth, for action, for enemies that like attack you, stuff like that. Car racing stuff, following. There's a lot of stuff in there, but again, you have to build it from scratch. Number two, I would love to see racing wheel support. I know they just added aim support, but there's a lot of racers in this game, and I would love to see racing wheel support. And finally, number three, I would love for them to kind of retool their system a little bit and add it so that every game is set to not sure about VR. And if a game pops up that's not made for VR, or if they haven't switched it on or off, I would like them to say, warning, this game was not created in VR. It's not designed to be in VR. And, make sure you know that going into this game. But that would give us access to be able to play anything in VR if the system can handle it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that feature is like making sure that people who are playing a game in VR that isn't technically supported can't leave nasty reviews and comments and stuff, because like, even though you give people that warning, somebody will try it and be like, oh, this looked like shit in my VR headset. I hated this. It didn't work right. And then they'll leave a bad review on a perfectly good creation that just wasn't meant to be viewed in VR. So some of the stuff we've been talking about actually segues pretty well into our next question that comes to us from Jive Slippers on YouTube, who says, hashtag viewer takeover like a pro. And he asks, do you think developers could take advantage of other features that PS5 has? I love the feel of the DualSense when playing Astro's Playroom, and would love if they updated Astrobot to use the DualSense along with the other sensor updates when moving on in different landscapes.
No.
So I think we already talked a little bit about, we have a lot in the past about the potential of applying the DualSense triggers and the haptic feedback and stuff to a new controller for PSVR 2. And I think you'd be crazy not to. And if they do, it's going to be huge. I mean, I think that that's like one big advantage of this console generation. When you look at every review of an Xbox versus a PS5, they're talking about the controller most of the time with PS5. And they're saying, this is better. I like this. There's something cool here. And I don't foresee PCVR mimicking it exactly. So I think that at least initially, Sony will have kind of a cornered market there, like for a haptic feedback controller that has resistance and kind of some of these new features that we've seen. And once again, I think that'd be a great way to show off a new Astrobot game. Like, roll those into a launch title for PSVR 2. And then you're in business.
I agree with you. You're saying this is like something that separates Sony, this next gen console. That's what separates them. But to Jive Slipper's point, asking about if they could implement it into last gen's PSVR stuff.
Oh, I guess that is part of the question. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay.
I would say no, and the reason is because that takes time, that takes money, that takes resources, and they're really not going to sell any extra copies of Astrobot because they went in and spent a ton of money and a ton of man hours going in and changing all this stuff. That's why, like, people begging for like PlayStation 5 upgrades and stuff, unlock the frame rates, unlock the resolution for PlayStation 5. It's like it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work, and very few developers are going to see any big return from that. We're going to talk about, oh, hey, this game looks a lot better, but like, how many people are going to go and be that who hadn't already bought the game? It's going to go, oh, well, now I can finally buy it. It's going to be like 10 people out there that finally go, okay, well, I'm going to pick this up now that it's got better graphics on PlayStation 5. Most people already bought Astrobot, and no one out there hasn't bought it because the rumble feature didn't feel good on DualShock, right? No one out there didn't buy it because the graphics weren't good enough. Everyone bought it, everyone loved it, and that's kind of good enough as far as like Sony's perspective would be. So the PlayStation VR 2, as Dave was saying, is going to take full advantage of that and make that next gen leap, the next Astrobot, feel so much bigger and so much more immersive because of these things. And they'd kind of be ruining that jump, that leap, if they retroactively added that to the current game we've already played.
And the other thing is, retrofitting stuff is never as satisfying as designing it that way. So like, if they went back and put it in, it's sort of like an afterthought. It's an extra feature, but the game wasn't designed with it in mind. And so I think about like 3D movies. Like, you see some that are converted to 3D after they've been shot in a computer, and you can tell there's a difference. And then there's other ones that they shoot in, with specific cameras that are designed for 3D. And that's kind of what I liken it to, of like, you don't really want to go back and add this stuff to a game that wasn't designed around it, because it might not be a better experience. It might still be, not exactly what you're looking for.
I disagree with both of you. From the
voice of the internet speaks again.
not knowing the state of PSVR 2 entirely. That's the thing. To me, if PSVR 2 is coming out soon and they're doing this, only PS5 only, making this next gen leap, like you're saying, I 100% agree. It doesn't matter. But if there's going to be some downtime in between now and the next headset launch, then I absolutely want every single able developer to be adding DualSense support to where they can. Now, they wouldn't be able to for Astrobot, because that requires light bar tracking. But a lot of the games don't. And I would love to have those DualSense features implemented into older games. Yes, I don't care. I would absolutely love that. And I would absolutely love every game that is possible and able to go back and upscale, or super sampling whatever it can to make the game look better, as long as there is like an actual visual difference. Something in like how Dreams and Squadrons looks, which uses dynamic resolution. That's a big, that's something that would have to be redesigned. But even like Blood and Truth, and just pushing it as far as it can go. It's technically running in 4K, even though the headset can only do it. But the problem here is that right now, from what we know, VR games do not have a place to add patches on the PS5 yet. If we're understanding that correctly, if that information that we know is true.
You have the PS4 version to be able to utilize the PS5.
Right.
That's the only way you can do it. Yeah.
But to me, that's not the same. Like, I would rather have, if it's going to be a long time or whatever, at some point, if there's no VR2 like really around the corner, then I would absolutely want to be able to have actual PS5 patches, upgrades, whatever you want to call it, to existing PSVR games, to be able to use the PSVR 1 headset and stuff, to be able to use the DualSense. I would absolutely want all of that. Just like how I would go back into Dreams. Now that I have more power to work with Dreams, I want to go make a realistic looking snowboarding game, a much better looking snowboarding game. And that's for free.
And that brings us to our last question. From who, AJ?
This comes from the Gill, from Gilman today at 4:08 p.m. And he says, #viewer takeover. Due to the announcement of 1976 back to Midway, awesome looking game, do you think this will lead to more developers to attempt to recreate classic arcade games in VR? And if so, what are some games you guys hope to see make a 3D comeback?
I'm raising my hand here because I want to say decisively that the answer to the first question is no.
Oh.
No.
Nothing that Ivanovich Games does will move the industry's needle in any fashion. They made Operation Warcade. That didn't make other people start making arcade
It's
games.
important to point out that Ivanovich, this is the same people that made Operation Warcade.
Yeah, which
that
is
are
a
doing
classic arcade.
1976.
A
This is
classic arcade game. It's the same style of development. Like, it's like, take this thing, nostalgic kind of arcadey thing, put it in VR. Half of it's flat screen, half of it's embodied or whatever, not flat screen, but you get what I mean. So yeah, I mean, this is not going to lead anybody to do anything. That said, I want to play the thing. It looks fun to me.
Yes.
So,
What Ivanovich is good.
To quickly answer the second part of the question as well, I think we've all said House of the Dead. House of the Dead, Time Crisis,
Yes.
any of those classic arcade light gun shooters, that's what I want to make a comeback. Those are what I'm looking for.
Yeah, Ivanovich, they do what they do, and they're a small team, and so they can be profitable on making like these niche games for a niche market. You got to be, you're focusing on a demographic that, like, you have to say, okay, not only do you love VR, which is a very small percentage of the population, but of those people, you have to also love classic arcade games like Operation Wolf.
Shmups.
Right, exactly.
I know you can't say it when I say shmups.
And that's in 1970 whatever, it looks fantastic because we all like the 1942 series of games, but as far as like actual classic arcade games, making a transition into VR, like in the way that these games are doing it, in the way that Ivanovich is doing it, I would love to see something like Contra, specifically the Alien Wars.
Yeah.
Talking about
be
the
awesome.
aim controller, running around with a spread shot and stuff, blasting aliens out of the sky. How amazing would that be in first person? Give me the fucking Super Nintendo graphics. I don't even care. Like in VR, that would be fantastic with the aim controller. Running around with like another person. It doesn't have to be too crazy. I'd be all about it.
I think these developers with the ability to make a VR game and a desire to is going to lead to developers making games like this, like Ivanovich, like Pixel Ripped and Arvory Immersive. I think that having that passion, that nostalgia for games like these, wanting to make their own vision, just like how I did with Dream Borders, which was Cool Borders, basically, and then I just converted it into Dreams.
Oh, come on, let's be fair. It's way better than Cool Borders.
No,
everything's way better than Cool
it's
Borders.
not. No, maybe if it was
Cool
finished.
Borders 2 is way better than Cool Borders. That's the only thing I'll agree with.
But yeah, and so this company specifically doing this, no, this isn't going to inspire anybody. But I think it's awesome that Ivanovich takes a lot of inspiration from these classic games that I enjoyed, that you guys clearly enjoyed as well. These are amazing classics, and I love seeing this new take on it, along with like Yuki, like doing the new version of the shmup with the thing. Yeah, in terms of like what games that you'd hope to see make a 3D comeback, Dave hit it on the head there with House of the Dead. Absolutely, light gun shooters, rail shooters, stuff like that. I would love to see, even though it's not the most popular genre. I would love to see all of them come back for sure.
All right, you guys, like any good show, this one has to come to an end. But thank you very much for hanging out with us out there in the internet verse. AJ hopefully was speaking all of your words for you, so you don't even have to leave a comment. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be the first comment list.
This whole episode was
ever.
already on his Twitter anyways.
It's insane. So. It's insane. He already made this entire show.
We can't agree all the time on every damn thing.
He retweeted this before we even posted it somehow. Right. I don't know how he does it. The king of Twitter, AJ.
Make sure you submit your viewer takeover introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com, just like Warren Simpson did that awesome viewer takeover introduction. I'm going to have nightmares about that. Make sure you consider going over to patreon.com/withoutparolegames.
Games.
Oh, see, I didn't think you were going to do it. $1 more every single month. And of course, if you didn't like the topics that we covered today, the only person you have to blame, well, partially us because we chose them, but also yourself because you didn't leave better comments. So make sure you join our Discord. By the way, you got to join our Discord because we are starting. You have to because we are starting the voting for the 2020 PlayStation VR Award Show today. Today, and you only have 72 hours to vote, so it's going to be fucking fast and furious. So make sure you get in there, do what you got to do, and get the fuck out before anyone sees you. And then, of course, follow me on Twitter because we're giving away a PlayStation 5. It's crazy, I know.
What?
But shh.
You're giving away.
You have
Wait,
to watch. You have to get to the end of this viewer takeover to find out. Otherwise, the rest of the world
tell
will
me
find
that.
out in a breaking news report later. So,
Well, you also didn't tell me you were talking to War Garble, and I love that dude. And
See,
I
I don't
was
tell you
surprised
anything.
that we had an interview. You should have told me that. I would have been
Dave's
excited.
notorious for not being able to keep secrets, so I don't tell him anything.
What kind of secret is that, though? That's not a big one.
But the point is, leave your viewer takeover questions over there on our Discord and the viewer takeover channel, or leave them in the comments below. Hashtag viewer takeover, all one word. We'll seek them out. We'll find them. And if you're incredibly unlucky, we're gonna make fun of you on next week's show. But thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to Dave at Dave Station VR. Subscribe to AJ, PSVR Underground, plays game Dream Borders on Dreams, and also follow him on Twitter at PSVR Underground because he gets mad when I don't pimp his Twitter.
Yeah,
Well, that
also,
is not true.
He's
That is
also
not
confirmed.
true. Lies.
He's also confirmed a Christmas update for Dream Borders coming this holiday season. It's in the books. It's on the books. He's
Dave
doing
made
it.
me do it. You can thank Dave.
My name's Brian Powell from PSVR Without Parole. This was Viewer Takeover, and we're out. Here's the trick.
1 second.
When you're sitting on Santa's lap, you got to give him a little handy, and he gives you whatever you want.
Oh, there you go. Wow, that's dark. That doesn't look good.
Who's a good Santa? Who's a good Santa?